sorry we're late. We had to warm up our beautiful voices in the green room before we could go live. I will record this and put it as a podcast both on YouTube and on Spotify for those who can't attend the live stream. This is a sort of a special podcast today because we're not doing Killteam på svenska, we're doing Killteam in English about Denmark or in Danish. But since I left the Copenhagen Malmö area more than 10 years ago, my Danish is a little rusty. So we settled on using English this time. So welcome Joakim, Kurt and Anders.
Thank you.
This will be a podcast about the Danish scene. So today's episode, we will talk a little about our guests. We'll talk about Killteam in the Copenhagen and Malmö area. We'll talk about organizing tournaments in the Killteam 24 era, so to speak. It's brand new without FAQs and balancing to the teams. We will talk a lot about the Danish Nationals, about the people who participated. The faction spread is always interesting, and we also invited Joakim, who will talk about his path to being runner-up or second place, and maybe some plans for next year. We can touch on those. Feels good? Everyone ready?
Yeah. Sounds lovely.
Yes. And feel free to interrupt with any questions in the live chat if you have any, and we will talk about those as we go along. Or if there is something wrong or something happens with the stream, please let me know and I will try to fix it as soon as possible. All right, everyone ready?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's get going.
Welcome, Kurt. You've been it's been a while, almost a year since you participated last time. So you're an old but a new face, basically, since it's been so long. And Anders and Joakim, welcome.
Thank you.
Who wants to go first? Talk a little about themselves.
Yeah, I can go.
Yeah.
So my name is Joakim. I've been in this hobby for, I don't know, almost 30 years, but I had a 20-year break, so I guess I've been in it for 10. What brought me back was Killteam. The first edition of Killteam, which was like a mini 40k, and then I just stayed with it.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Anders.
Yeah, I've more or less been painting miniatures since I was 12 years old or something, and I've always had the interest of getting to play someday, but the thought of just building big armies and painting 100 of the same model just was a big turn off. So when I discovered this skirmish edition back in the Killteam 2018, I got hooked immediately, played with some friends, and then about halfway into the second edition, I got pretty frustrated because it seemed like nobody at least in Copenhagen, were talking about this game. So I took it upon myself to do something about it, and that was the kickoff for starting the scene in Copenhagen. So me and Nicholas and Benjamin, two of my very good friends, we more or less started the Copenhagen scene, which has sort of merged with the Malmö scene by now. So that's a little bit about me. I often do the TOing at our events. I was fortunate enough to get to play myself this time in the Danish Nationals. So that was lovely.
Nice.
Yeah, and for those of you who haven't seen or heard me before, I'm Kurt, and I'm playing from Malmö. And Yuki is a good friend of mine, and we play a lot together with a couple of other friends. We are like 6-7 players down here, playing regularly with on a more or less competitive level. And as Anders just said, we more or less merged together with the Copenhagen crew since the beginning of the year. You guys, you went out big this year, and you made 4 bigger tournaments, and you planned them way in advance. And then you had a couple of smaller ones, so we've been trying to go over the bridge every time, to some of us at least, to participate.
Yeah, I don't think there haven't been like any events either in Copenhagen or in Malmö where one of the others have visited and come over to play, just in general. So that's just great to get to meet new people and and just play some nice games. People have been very friendly from both parts, and I mean, if that's not what we're here for, of course the competitive gaming is fun, but the whole what's the word I'm looking for? Privilege to meet new people and make new friends. That then why are we doing it, if not for that?
Yeah, it's so true. I started playing about a year ago, and I was hooked, and I went to 2 tournaments here in the Stockholm area during spring, and that was a very nice way, both as a primer in Killteam, to get to play lots of games in one day, but also meet a lot of nice people. So it sounds like you are onto something with building the scene there, and it's I've lived in Lund for about 10 years, so I know how close it is between Malmö and Lund and Copenhagen and that general area. Okay, nice to meet you guys. Some podcasts have, like, what's your latest hobby project or something like that, but I thought we would use the Killteam theme. And what's your favorite Killteam, or are you team cunning, or are you team brutal? What you say, guys?
Yeah, I can start out. My favorite team for the whole year has been Phobos. I played them since December last year, and I'm definitely team cunning. I have been fiddling around with other teams as well this year, and right now, even though we were not supposed to bring up hobby projects, I am about to finish my Space Wolves Nemesis Claw, and I'm gonna start to play them from now on, I think.
Cool.
I'm looking forward to meeting them.
You will.
So Joakim, or what you prefer to play?
Yeah. I'm the guy who switches around a lot. I rarely play a team more than I would say 10 times, and then I'm off to the next team. But I do like to play a team that has a bit of shenanigans. They're too straightforward. I get bored with them. But if I had to pick one that I find both fun to play and that were fun to paint. So I'm actually mainly a painter. It would be the Star Striders. I like that team. I think the sculpts are amazing. But yeah, I'm not so fond of teams that can't do a lot of synergies. You can't buff them, or you can do beat debuffs, or special plays. I prefer to have a bit of a cognitive overload when I play.
Nice. And are you on Team Cunning or are you on Team Brutal?
Yeah, cunning, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the most part of the year, I have been playing the Hearthkin Salvagers. Like, I'm very much a toolbox team kind of guy. So they were just right up my alley. And then when 3rd edition dropped, people were like, "Oh shit, Warp Common is very good now." I mean, I have those painted because I really liked the idea of playing sorcerers. But then they were super bad. A lot of the 2nd edition. So as soon as I heard they were good again, I finished them up and got to play like 4 or 5 games before the Nationals. And I've been having a lot of fun with those. So for my ongoing project, I think I'm about to get started on the new Orc Elite team. I'm planning on building them from the world leaders, those what are they called, 8-bounds and 8-bound exalted, exalted 8-bounds or something like that. So big world leaders, probably in some green armor, just to respect the origin of the idea of the team. So I'm hoping to have the team ready as soon as the rules drop, but we'll see. I also have my final exams coming up, so who knows what there will be time for.
You know what to prioritize.
Yeah.
There is always
I mean, I have
Ompenta.
3 attempts on that exams anyways, so and I think I'm a Team Cunning player as well.
Now that you mention it, what do we really mean by Team Brutal?
Well, I was sort of alluding to the preview we got on the Rattlings and Tank Busters Killteam a while ago. So Team Cunning was the Rattlings, maybe, if you want to follow that sort of playstyle, maybe, and the Brutal was the new Orc Elite team that you were talking about, Anders, when they...
Well, then I might change within a couple of months if they're the team I'm going to play next.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah. I'm actually leaning a little towards the Team Cunning, but that's only because I can run Rattlings and Ogrins maybe in the same team. That would be fantastic. Maybe I can do AOS orcs and grots or something, or maybe something like that. We'll see. I'm an orc player. I started with the commandos and I played Chaos Cult for a bit this year, most of the year, but since they are garbage, I tried them out in this edition and they are not fun, so maybe I will try something else. I started a few hobby projects. We are not talking about hobby projects, but we are talking about hobby projects. So I'm undecided between Felgor, Scouts, or Inquisition, actually. But we'll see what we will manage. I signed up for an tournament in Eskilstuna, the Lucia weekend in December, so I will have to decide a few weeks before that so I can get a few games in with the kill team I'm taking at least. All right, thank you for that. Should we jump to the actual contents maybe?
Yeah.
We've touched on it a little, the kill team in Danish, so to speak. Tell me a little about how you've been working in Copenhagen and tournaments and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, I think we began in 2022 or something like that. I can't remember the timing of the year exactly, but it was around the release of Into the Dark. It was probably, yeah. I'm not exactly sharp on the timeline, so bear with me on that one. We've been we started out playing leagues just to get people in. We figured it might be difficult to get people to play tournaments in a game that they're unfamiliar with. I mean, it works sometimes, but it was such a niche in Copenhagen, so that we had to like start from scratch and then just get people to play games, and then we figured that the leagues were the best way of doing that. So we did that twice. Then there were like smaller tournaments in the local Games Workshop store, but there was like 10-player tournaments or something like that. Which is also those tournaments where I met both Nicholas and Benjamin that I mentioned before. Then in the end of 2022, we sat down, all three of us, and planned out all of 2024 and scheduled the 4 tournaments. And just started inviting everyone. I think it was around that time where I heard an episode with Kurt on another podcast. I don't know if we should name drop or shout anyone out.
Sure, just another Kill Team podcast, wasn't it, Kurt?
Exactly. And then I realized, okay, they're actually playing in Sweden. That's good to know. And also, how can Sweden be on a podcast when Denmark isn't? So first of all, I texted them, hey, we're playing in Denmark too. Let's do an episode. And so we did a couple of weeks later. But then I reached out in like the international Facebook Kill Team groups and were like, hey, can someone put me in touch with someone from the Swedish scene? We have a handful of Danish players who would like to compete and have fun. So I was invited to the Swedish Discord, where we don't have that in the Danish scene. Maybe we should, who knows? But there's like a big calendar chat with okay, there's a lot of events here. Oh, all of them are sold out. It must be pretty big in Sweden then. So I just started telling people about our events, and I think already at the first one when was the first one? I think it was in March, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think it was in the beginning of March.
Yeah, and we had guests right away, and it just went on from there, kinda. And now the year has come to an end, and it's we're about to figure out what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
I think I heard I think I heard both you, Kurt, and Anders on Just Another Kill Team podcast maybe a year ago or something. And
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was a year ago, for sure. And another thing I would like to mention about your scene in Copenhagen is the Killteam Wednesdays on Faro's Cigarro.
Yes.
In the basement of our Cigarro, which
Yeah.
your good friend Benjamin is hosting more or less every week. It's amazing. Always a lot of attendees and full day of Killteam if you want to.
Yeah, people are there from like 12 o'clock until we're kicked out. I think just for those who are not aware, Faro Cigar is the biggest brand of local game stores, at least in Copenhagen. They've spread a bit out to the rest of the country, but they're very localized in the Copenhagen area. Like 7 different shops or something. I lost track completely, but we know of the most important one, and that's the one that lets us come and take out all of the basement space. Some of our tournaments has also been hosted there, but it wasn't able to be done at all the events, since they have other stuff they need to do, like Magic the Gathering releases and other unimportant stuff, if you ask me, but that's out of my hands.
Yeah, that's nice. I try to I try to, and I think I established some kind of small seed here when I live in Norrtälje outside of Stockholm to gather some Killteam players that are willing to try. So we were talking just the other day about doing some kind of league after New Year's and some small tournament during the spring, so everyone can maybe get their feet wet before the tournament, and then have a good 3-4 games during a day. Something like
absolutely.
Yeah, that would be very nice to get that going. I hope so.
So Anders told us about the tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
They were planned for this year. We found out about them quite early, and some of us started to go to Copenhagen on Wednesdays, and then we have attended all the 4 big tournaments. We usually meet up at Jukke's place, and our friend David comes with a car, picks us up, and we drive over the bridge, have a good fun, eat some Danish street food and pølse, maybe. I don't know if we've ever eaten pølse.
Buy beer at 7-Eleven.
And buy beer at 7-Eleven.
Amazing.
And always good times.
Yeah. We don't have a Systembolaget over here.
Poor
no.
you.
Just do whatever you want.
Yeah, you can buy beer at Netto, so
it's always us Swedes that's buying beer. I've never seen you guys go to 7-Eleven, and what do I know?
Look, they have beer here.
Most of the times I've had to drive afterwards.
Yeah, we have a designated driver, so it's easier, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm thinking why we started to go over to Copenhagen. I mean, it's not just because you are hosting these events, and because of the beer, right?
Yeah, of
but
course.
it's because of, I think, it's a very friendly atmosphere. It's you feel welcome. You feel like you can make friends, and it's yes, people play competitively, but it's always with laughs.
Yeah. That's very very fulfilling and heartwarming for us to hear. We had here at the Danish Nationals we had like 6 or something German players coming up to participate as well, and I went to Germany for their golden ticket event back in September, and I could tell the difference quite early on. I don't want to call them sweaty players, but I could feel like the competitive atmosphere was like 5 notches higher than it is over here. Yeah. So they also were very surprised of how light the atmosphere was when they attended the Danish events, and they had a lot of fun. the 1 hour event anyways. But you know, it's all fun and games, literally. So that's something that is very fulfilling for us to know, at least, that it's a nice atmosphere and a nice place to come visit. And I mean, since you guys keep visiting us, it must be like a stamp of approval somehow. I feel like, at least.
I really do feel that the level of play has increased a lot throughout this year since we came at the first tournament, and both in the Danish scene and the Malmö scene.
Definitely.
I think we have grown together for sure, and it's pretty even Steven. We have a lot of good players down here, I would say.
Definitely.
Cool. So, would you like to touch on the plans for coming years, or are you just are you going to sort of do a soft landing now in the end of the year, and then maybe start talking 2025?
I
later?
mean, we have planned the date for when we are going to arrange next year's tournament, so I can't really tell you too much yet, because I simply do not know.
No. But you
think
want to
one
do
thing-
about the same stuff, or same program, maybe?
Personally, I feel more intrigued by the thought of maybe hosting 3 events and put more work into those instead of hosting 4. I mean, I'm open to do 4 as well, but I feel like there are like minor things that could have been improved if the time was there to do the organizing like a notch better. I feel like we did a great job either way this year, but I feel like there's like a few things that could have been done different, and I feel like that is possible if we do 3 instead. But let's see. And another thing I think we will probably do is we will try to host next year's Danish Nationals earlier in the year, because there were the golden ticket up for grabs. We hosted the event like 3 weeks prior to the World's finals in Atlanta, so getting to go there would be on very short notice for whoever ended up winning the ticket. So that is something that we agreed on early on that we should do earlier, if we are lucky enough to have a ticket next year.
Yeah, I think that's good. 3 weeks. I mean, if you go from Europe to the World Championships, I guess it's a week you have to take off, to be away. But that's good. Should we talk a little about competing in the new edition, maybe? We will touch on the Danish Nationals after that.
Yeah, sure then.
So, you, Kurt, brought this up, and I thought it was an excellent subject. I mean, it's sort of new teams. So there are the what you call it, classified teams, so the 30 plus teams that are available for play, but most of them have unbalanced or new rules. You have Into the Dark Terrain, Beteresma Terrain, and the new Volcus, and basically no balancing released yet, and we don't have any facts, FAQs about the top platform on the Volcus terrain, where someone can put a sniper in conceal with silent. Is that okay or not? Is that the point? Or razor wire, is that working as we think it's working? Making the Heartskin salvagers not being able to traverse it, or I don't think the Heartskin salvagers can climb without a ladder on most terrains, right? So it's a little rough, maybe. Did you have any big issues at all at your tournament? Or isn't it? Maybe it isn't that bad. You just play.
You want to start, Anders?
Yeah, sure. Again, I wasn't the TO for this event. Thank God for that. That role passed to my friend Benjamin. So I don't know if frustrated is the real word for it, but he was he had a lot of rulings he had to call that weekend. So I'm very much not jealous of his position. When that is said, in my games we didn't really have any issues with it, because whichever operative would go up there wouldn't stay there for very long, and
on the top
as
platform,
far
you
as,
mean?
yeah, or otherwise I was just able to steal the deployment from the ones that really wanted it. I played against a Angels of Death player, luckily and Into the Dark. I was pretty certain that his sniper was gonna go for it if it had been on Vulcus. So it wasn't really an issue that I experienced myself. But I mean, I was playing Sorceress. I had all of the "fuck you, I can see you either way" rules on some of my Sorcerers. I'm swearing a lot, and I'm all of a sudden very aware of that. I hope that's no issue. Otherwise, you'd have to bleep me out or something. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
So
We have been
throwing
swearing
a-
in Swedish here, but I'm not banned on YouTube yet.
Okay.
What you
So
think?
throwing a tournament so close to a drop of edition, for sure it's going to be a problem. But what I think that Benjamin as a TO did very well was very early on, a couple of weeks prior to the event, he started a thread on Facebook. Ask questions here. We will make an FAQ so that everyone is there for different reasons. Maybe you just want to throw dice. Maybe you want to actually go for the golden ticket. And if you are, you have opportunity to ask questions, to get to know the rules better. And even though our interpretations are not the right ones, or the ones that GW actually want us to use, they are the same for everyone as soon as a TO has decided on the rules. And this was very well done, I think. So we put together an FAQ document that everyone could read prior. And in the morning, we just went through it more or less, all the basic stuff.
Yeah, it was really good that we had that opportunity to ask questions and clarify things, even though we might not agree with all the rulings, such as my penitent not being allowed to chop down 4 Marines in one activation. I would have loved to have done that. But I think that's something that should be done, I think, for all tournaments going forward, to have that opportunity to ask questions before, especially. But of course now, given that the edition was dropped just a couple of weeks before, it was really helpful, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, so basically you would ask, how would you rule this at the tournament? I'm curious.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an excellent way to solve it.
With questions and drawing diagrams. Well, can you be both obscured and in cover here and etc. I think that was helpful.
For sure.
Yeah, doing away
and for
with
the terrain sets, it was decided quite early on that only Into the Dark and Volcus would be used for the tournament, which is
Yes.
probably a global consensus about Beta Decima
Yes.
not being used at a competitive level right now.
It is very disliked in Copenhagen, at least. In most places, as far as I'm aware. But we don't. You don't see that tournaments in Copenhagen like at all. People aren't even practicing it on the casual nights. So, yeah.
But come back to your question with the new edition and competitive play. I really like that there is so much versatility with the new equipment options. Even though now it was ruled that we were not allowed to use the barbed wire, I would like to see it used, but maybe some restrictions on how you're allowed to place it. I mean, right now there is the rulings are not that clear. I mean, you can block doors both in Into the Dark and on an open board, and but I think it has its place. So I would like to see it being used more. But in fact, I mean, I haven't played enough of the new edition to really say how what's the best play to use for this piece of equipment with what team and on what type of terrain and so on. So I would like to see more creative use of the equipment options together with certain teams. I would like to see that, but it's still early.
Yeah, I think the innovation will come as we go along, and as soon as you have played more, you will see more innovation with equipment options and to affect the game, of course.
I think actually, I know the internet is mad about a lot of things about elites and stuff, but I think GW actually have done quite well with balancing a totally new edition with 30 plus factions, and revamping the whole elite system. Of course, there's going to be balances for sure, but
it's also
I
hard to
like
say,
the new
right?
way
It's
to play.
Early. Yeah, me too. I agree.
It's
but
very early.
It's very early, and to say which team is S tier, A tier, these lists come up so fast. How can you really know? You haven't seen enough play with them, and also some of the most competitive players tend to be drawn to certain teams, which means that other teams don't get that much play. So I'm a bit skeptical to all these tier lists.
I agree fully to your statement there.
Yeah, I mean, my easiest games with Novicius was against the Legionaries. Super easy. But I struggle with Felgor. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah. So none of us have really played enough to actually know what is best and what is
No.
Yeah. What is what actually. But the game is fun for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I thought I only played a handful of games so far, and I have no clue what equipment to bring or anything like that. I just bring the faction equipment, or I haven't even started bothering with the other equipment. But I think it's easier and faster to play and more straightforward. Just removing stuff like non-reciprocal shooting and other shenanigans from the main core rules has been.
You still have non-reciprocal shooting, I would say, but it's in a different manner.
Yeah.
So you use obscuring in a different way, but you can still play those kind of plays, do those kind of plays, I would say.
Yeah.
I'm on team remove obscuring, but I feel alone on that. I feel it doesn't bring any more fun or to the game. It could be had been done differently, but now I mean it's how you can't remove it. Obviously,
No.
It's part of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Anders, I see that in the chat you have a big shout out there. People are enjoying your tournament, so.
Who's out there? What's in the chat?
Big boy Noah.
Big boy Noah. Hey Noah.
All right, should we go to the
Nice
Nationals then? What'd you say?
Oh, you guys. Sorry, I'm here, I swear.
All right.
Yes.
Let's do the Danish Nationals. Or was it? But it was a golden ticket event. Lovely. Love to hear a little about that. The format, the participants, and which terrain you used. You talked about you only used Into the Dark and Volcus, but that was you used for Nationals too. Yeah.
Hmm?
And
I mean,
Kurt did this nice pie chart for us, and
yes.
the most of the participants weren't Danish, but who was the Danish champion then? Do we dare to drop his name?
Yeah, it was our friend Lutzi from Bremen. I'm in Germany. Who I was one of the guys that I met when I went to Kiel earlier this fall. A nice guy. He was playing very well. I mean, you can tell that he's from a different competitive community and environment. But he's a fun guy. I didn't get to play him this time. I played him in Kiel, where he destroyed my salvagers with scouts back when scouts were 10 guys with power swords. No, that's let's keep that for later. But he only dropped one game throughout the tournament. But he was so high on tack ups. I think he only dropped one tack up point throughout the entire tournament, so that just placed him out of reach.
That's a subject that could have been brought up on the last slide when throwing a tournament. How to choose tiebreakers. That is something hard or something not really. Needs to be explored further in this edition for sure. So the tiebreakers for this was tack ups. Yeah, you can take over.
Yes, it was.
Which meant that he could have conceded the game against me. Now I won the game, but he could have conceded and still won, which is a bit maybe unsatisfactory. And what can you do to have like an exciting, fun, but still fair finals?
Yeah.
There are many different options, right? You could have a cutoff, and you can have the top 4 players play it out.
Yeah.
The top two top tables. Because now I think he thought that he had lost. Of course, since I won by quite a lot, and I for a second thought, well, maybe I won this, but then I realized no, we're counting tack ops, and now with the new edition, maybe that's not the correct tiebreaker. And in fact, well, I don't think that those types of scores should be tiebreakers when you have this kind of tournament. We have so many games.
Yeah.
But I think it should be fair, but somehow also it's exciting. You don't know, okay, who's going to take home the top 3 places, because right now it was preordained. You didn't need to play that game at all.
So.
And then you can just play the tack ups. You essentially you could have played every game, just win by tack ups, and you don't need to win by that much.
Yeah. So how many participants and how many games did you do? Was it a 2-day event or 1-day event?
Yes, 2-day events. We were originally at 26 players, but we had 2 drops. on like the evening before or and the same morning. But we managed to stay at 24, which is a good number when you play the Swiss format like we did. We played 6 games on 2 days. 1 game, then lunch, then 2 games with 15 minutes break in between, which was very nice and much more relaxed way of doing it. Either way, it was a big tournament. All of our other events this year have been 1-day events with the 4 games, where you can like feel the pressure differently all the way early on in the day. So it was. I think it was a good call. Of course, we are not on a I don't want to say we're not on the level, but we are not in a place in the Danish scene where people can prioritize 2 days to go for a big event in a row, because people have real life shit to do.
Yeah.
And we wanted to do another 2-day event earlier on in the year, but it fell through, and there was some venue problems, and so it ended up being 4 games on 1 day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
About the tiebreaker, I mean, yeah, it is difficult. It definitely is. We played all the tournaments in 2nd edition. We played with tag-ups as the first tiebreaker, because obviously you have the tournament points. How many games did you win to begin with? So we just carried on over with the tag-ups, which I feel like is more difficult now, because if you choose the tag-ups as your primary up, do they count? I mean, is that even more tag-ups points, or are they a completely different category just based on how much you scored? I mean, I know what my opinion is, but again, there are some unspecified areas of the new edition that Games Workshop should definitely touch upon. Another issue we had that collided a bit with this whole tag-ups situation, or
the scoring situation was the
the
BCP
scoring
app, right?
situation. Yeah, we were using best coast pairings to keep up with the tournament, and for some reason, we were still using the scoreboard for 2nd edition, which made things really difficult. So, in order to do the scoring correctly, we needed to, because you can do the primary points and or the mission objective and the tag ups and the paint score or something. We didn't use the paint score, but people needed to use the tag up section for the tag ups as per usual. But if you used the tag ups primary up and got above 6 points in total, you couldn't type more than 6 points in. So you had to take your primary up points and add them to the mission objective along with the kill up, and so everything besides the tag ups were in one category for itself, which was a bit complicated to get people's heads around in the beginning. No wonder. But that was a mistake we found in the setup, like 10 minutes before the first pairings were up. So we did not have the time to change it, because we would, I don't know if we would have to redo the entire event in BCP and get everyone to sign up again. So we just had to go along and then go with it.
Mm-hmm. I think that part worked out in the end. As soon as people got the hang of how to submit their scores. Yeah.
Benjamin did a really good job of keeping people in the loop of what was going on and what needed to be done.
And handing out candy.
And handing out candy. True.
So
But yeah, the whole thing about how to prioritize the wins after the tournament points, we'll definitely have to think about it, or maybe make it different from each event. So this is a mission objective event where mission objectives count the most, or this is a kill event where the kill up counts the most, or the tag up. You get the point, but I'm not sure how we're going to optimize the format for the next Danish Nationals. But
you have
what-
so many different scorings now, and also so it's personally I feel that you should play the whole game, not just a part of the game. Now it benefits you if you have a team that can score your tack ups easily, which we know some plant beacon teams can easily do, and you can't block them from doing that. Whereas other tack ups are very easily blocked. So if you say, well, this is what the game is about, then why bother with the trying to kill the opponent or trying to do the mission objectives? I think that it should be the whole game and not just part of it.
The total amount of points.
Yes.
I think if we can set it up like that, I think that it could definitely be the way to go. So it's not just tag up team or kill team or points team or whatever they're calling it.
Yeah.
But,
Primary
the whole package.
team.
Yeah, I would like that myself personally.
Yeah.
all right. Do you want to touch a little on the golden ticket for those who don't know what's a golden ticket?
Yes. Well, every year, I think there have only been 2 or 3 world championships in Killteam at this point. But Games Workshop hosts this event. At first year it was in Birmingham, I think. I don't know. Where there were 8 players from like USA, England, and Spain probably, because those guys are really skilled, who played like this tournament they qualified for by winning certain events and winning this golden ticket. The year after it was in Atlanta, with like 60 something players, I feel like, and this year it is in Atlanta again in the upcoming week. No, this week. It's Monday today. I haven't been doing anything today, so it feels like Sunday to me. But yeah, this week they will go off again with, I feel like it was 90 something people that qualified, but quite a lot of them couldn't go because the prior years Games Workshop have been compensating people's travel expenses, or some of them at least. Either hotels or plane tickets have been supplied for them for some of the tickets. There have usually both been golden and silver tickets, where the golden ones you get compensated for your travel expenses, and the silver one you're qualified, so it's your own responsibility to show up. And this year, every golden ticket has been a shadow silver ticket. So you're qualified, but it's your own responsibility to show up. Which makes sense, but it can also make it difficult for us here in Europe to go all the way to USA. That for a lot of people that's quite an expensive trip.
Yeah. I haven't looked at the Killteam participants, but I looked at the world's event for 40k, and I mean half of the participants are either American or Canadian, so I can understand that it's a big game over there, but it's a big travel for us to go there, or for anyone else to go there, of course, so to speak.
I mean, Games Workshop is a European company, so just stay in Europe. Damn it. Or make it more accessible to us who are not Americans, at least. I don't know.
You have a European version of this. Or is it just the World Championships?
Yeah, they have the World Team Championships, which is not a GW tournament at all, but still supposed to be a great one, for sure.
But I'm thinking if GW hosts something just for Europe. They should.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's very unlikely, considering how big a player base they have in the States, and how much money they make on the States. I don't have any specific numbers, but I can imagine that a lot of their income is from the American crowd.
Mm-hmm. So let's jump into the event itself. Maybe we have touched on some of these things, but so we had, as you said, 24 players, and we had a really decent spread on factions, 18 factions. So everywhere it says 4.2% is one player, I guess, and everywhere it says 8.3 players. I guess it's 2 players that brought that faction.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We have Hands of the Archon, Warp Coven, Legionary, and Angels of Death. Otherwise it was
Inquisition as well.
Inquisition, yeah, I missed that one. That's a really good spread. That's more than half of the current kill teams represented.
Was very nice to see so many different teams coming. I mean, it would have been easy for people to just Legionnaires are super strong, so we just see 12 Legionary players. I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if that was the case, because
I think many of us were suspecting that, for sure.
Yeah.
But no,
so
great spread.
Yeah, that was super nice. And there were some interesting factions that did really well. One of your guys, Victor, did extremely well with his Fast Dogger Kinband, which was really a faction that was looked down upon in the previous edition. I think he was 4th place, or something like that.
Fourth place, yeah.
Yeah, super well done. I played him in the first game. Was super nice guy as well. So that was just interesting to see some maybe underdog factions doing really well.
Yeah, you're making a good point here, because that's what I said earlier about we don't have enough statistics to really say what is a strong faction or weak faction. And Victor, he's a good player, but also he plays that team. That's his team. He plays it a lot. I think that's the only team he plays. And of course, then he learns how to use it. He can see opportunities with that team, and he was playing that with the previous edition as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the scene is so small here. So I mean, a developing meta, maybe it isn't relevant to talk about that, but to talk about maybe good players choosing, as you say, that what they're comfortable with or what they know inside out, so they can use, and they know the whole toolbox of that team more than anything. So I think that's a good call.
Yeah, Victor is a Tau player by heart. I think he plays Big Hammer as well, and I've only met him playing Pathfinders and Farstarker Kinband, and now the Best Bits. And he's been playing the Farstarker Kinband for most of the time, for sure. he's really good with them.
Nice. Should we? Yeah, this is the top 5 then. As you say, Victor placed 4th.
Yeah, there he is.
And Lutzi placed 1st with his Void Dancer troop. Remind me, do they have fly now again in this edition, or do they have the flip belt mechanism that they got in the end?
Different version of fly. I mean, as far as I understood, it's like all vertical distances are 1 inch now, and then they can just travel the rest of their. I mean, they have 7-inch movement now, so it's just 6 inch in every direction you want, as far as I understood. So
yeah, it's not. It's
fly.
as you said, it's 1 inch as attacks, and it's not totally clear if they need to drop as usual or if they can climb down. So I don't know how he used the rules in the tournament, but some people's I played on the internet, they climb down for 1 inch, so the drop is also reduced.
Yeah. All right. So they climb for 1. It's close to the Reavers have something like that too, or the Phobos team.
Yeah, the Reavers, they no matter the height, they always climb for 2, and the drops are free because of the grav shoots.
Cool. It's a little getting used to the new rule set or the new interpretations.
Yeah, I mean, it was different for I played the Warp Coven, where with the Boons of Siege, I have the I can choose for one of my guys to have fly, but that's more like a teleporting way of flying, where you're not measuring from and over and around, and no, you just pick him up and you put him down within the specific distance, which was these 6 inches. But I would not, if I used that power when I would charge someone, I would not give the 2 extra inches of charging distance.
Okay.
So it's 6 inches either way, whatever you do with it.
The Vespid have something similar with their fly, I think, when you just pick them up and put them down.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so Joakim, you came 2nd with your novitiates. Should we talk a little about the games you had? Do you have any highlights?
It's a toxic team of Karens. That's what they are. And I think they can feel. It's a very feels bad team to play against, because you can. This has happened several times. Someone finds a spot where they can blast 3 operatives. Nothing happens because every damage is healed, or they try to shoot someone, but you do blinding light, and it's well, that's your activation. So that's a very toxic. And on the flip side, when you shoot with them, you can hit with everything, and it's so easy to get crits. So if I'm recollecting the games I played, I hadn't played them much when I entered the tournament, and I didn't pick them because I felt that they were such a strong team. They just happened to be the next in line on the painting list. So I've been wanting to paint them up and play them for quite some time, and now this happened to be the tournament. And my first game was against Mandrakes, I remember, and I wasn't warmed up. I hadn't really played Volkers. I didn't realize that they had so much fights first. So I killed 2 of my operatives myself, basically, in the first turn. And, I charged in, was it turning point 2, and charged one of his guys. He did fights first, killed me, and then I charged another one who was inside the stronghold. But I learned from that game, and I didn't do that mistake again. But I played Legionaries, I think was it twice I played them. And I felt they were that was the easiest team to play against. Mainly because it's so easy for the novitiates to chip the legionaries, and when they try to do their shooting, if they don't blast you and kill you, that's which you don't do against novitiates because they're so resilient. Your model's probably exposed, and then I would just chip them down. The team I struggled most against was the Felgor. So that's where the novitiates are weak. It's in melee. So I felt that that game could have turned out very differently. But again, it's so easy to get a crit. You just pay for it. You get the crit. So my experience playing this team is that it's if you want to succeed with any action that you do, it's so easy to do because you basically have unlimited faith points. It's so easy to generate faith points, which is maybe something that should be mitigated. You can do it just by staying alive. You can do it by doing actions on objectives, raising your relic, killing people. you get faith points for everything. So that's my take on this team. And even against the void dancers, that felt easy too. I never felt that it was a difficult game.
Interesting. In Big Hammer in 40k, the GW have stated that they will look into the fate dice for Adepta Sororitas in Big 40k. So it's interesting that the mechanics are similar when you can tamper with the dice results, and you can modify and gain crits, as you say. Well, we'll see.
When you could do it so easily, right? I mean, we could do it all the time. If it was like a rare event that you could manipulate the dice, I would get that. But I think the game should be about rolling dice, not auto-succeeding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you have, as you say, you have one with a chalice or something like that generates fate points too.
Yep.
That extra.
Yeah, and one other thing is the equipment that allows you for once per turning point you can manipulate 2 dices.
Yep. Yes.
That's really strong.
That's a lot.
Yeah. To make one into a crit and make one failure into a hit, and maybe you have rending or severe. I don't know. You have another.
Exactly. I use that. I think that's the best ploy they have is to get severe, because you will auto get a crit so easily, and then suddenly you have that just cascades, and you suddenly get a lot of successes. And in those rare situations where I say rare because it's rare, where you need to hit with, say, four dice, it's quite easy to do, because then you'll use your relic to manipulate 2 dice. So, no, I felt it was a very feels bad team. So I hope they change that.
I think one of the most feels bad mechanics is the heal up after, like turning them down into maybe 1 wound, they heal back up full health. So one thing I wish for upcoming balanced edition is for GW to look into the damage negation or damage reduction mechanics throughout the factions.
Yeah.
Not only novitiates, also the legionaries, for example. I think a lot of balancing can be done with the damage reduction and damage neglecting functions.
Yeah. The new Plague Marines as well. I had a game against them this Wednesday. I know I'm going off topic. I'll just do it briefly. But there was
it's quite alright.
It was going pretty well. It was going pretty well for me. And then at this one round of combat, I charged with one of my sorcerers, and he reduced every hit I landed on him with like 1 damage, which meant that he survived. And then he did a fallback and tossed a grenade at me, and then that was the entire turning point of the entire game. And I lost from there. And I was like, wow, he did that 4-up thing 3 times in a row. And I mean, that happens sometimes. Sometimes you don't roll any 4-ups. But I mean, I feel like there's some stuff that needs doing with many teams, with Warp Coven as well.
Yeah, another way to reduce damage is by ignoring piercing. The piercing thing, which both Warp Coven and Legionaries can do. It's real strong when you're at 14 wounds.
And turning a normal hit into 1 damage. For the rubrics.
That's the Warp Coven.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they will have to do some balancing and some. I guess that they will. If you look back into the previous edition, they weren't keen on doing much balancing. Maybe for half a year. Chaos Cultists and Felgor didn't get touched until they were half a year or a year maybe into the after the release. So we'll see how much they do now. If the balance patch comes before Christmas or in January, they usually do once per quarter, right? So we'll see if it's.
But of course, they need to be careful with the balancing because, as we said before, this is such a new game, and we haven't found out everything we can do yet. All the factions haven't been played at the high level yet, so I think there's a lot to counter what is the current meta, what is currently considered to be overpowered.
Yeah, and
I feel like it's you go.
Well, I was just going to say that teams that are weak on paper, at least, they see very little innovation because they sort of get abandoned by the high-end players or the influencers or what you say, and they are of course slower to be discovered, the place for those, but we'll see how the innovation goes in the.
I mean, that's why you can see if it's like for me, I discovered that combination of using the ploy that gives punishing, and together with one of the girls, the one with the scepter, with the what's it called, the preceptor, right? She gives severe, so that combination with the faith dice is pretty good, and I don't know if people have looked into all those kind of synergies that are available for some teams. That's also, again, I mean, you get auto successes of a certain type. Yeah, fail becomes hits, and hits become crits, and that can cascade.
Yeah, this is true with other factions as well that are not considered to be meta, and one of them is Exaction Squad. They can dice manipulate as well.
Yep.
And they are a quite good faction in my eyes, actually.
Yeah, exactly. So as soon as you can retain a lot of successes, I mean, as long as you get 4, right, then you're sure to at least get 1 die in as damage.
Yeah.
You can't say more than 3.
I also heard from Nicholas, who was number 3 at the Nationals, who played Inquisitorial Agents, but he used Exaction Squad for more or less all of his games, because it's not the specific rule that carries over, but Inquisitorial Agents have something similar that just works really well with the police officers.
Yeah, they have the subjectors with the shields that can negate damage, so you can block. I think you can use them to block quite a lot to negate.
Yeah, and shooting into combat. all of that stuff.
Yes, you can have I think I've never played Extraction Squad, so this is purely killgissning. This is on a grand scale, but I think you can have someone attack your shield officer, and then you can shoot into that combat with a shotgun. You can double team and get kills that way, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of shenanigans going on with that team for sure.
Yeah.
So what we didn't mention when we looked at the top 5 was the ratio of nations.
No.
We did.
Yeah.
We can switch back to that.
No, but with that being said, the level of competitive players here was quite high, and I feel like there were half of the people that were attending the tournament could actually podium, so it was high level of play for sure.
Definitely.
Yes, and as you said, Anders, a German in top, then you, Joakim, then Nicholas with his inquisitorial agents, and then 2 Swedes. So 3 Swedes up top, Dane and a German.
Yeah.
So basically, Nicholas was the one that won the Danish national championship, so to speak, as a Danish national.
Yeah, I guess you could say so. It was interesting enough when you mentioned your game against Mandrakes earlier on, Joakim, because that was Boogie you played against, and I don't feel like we have top players, but we have a bunch of guys that more or less every tournament have pretty solid results, and Boogie is definitely up there. Is one very, very skilled player here in Copenhagen, and he usually does really well.
Another one is Batlam for sure. He has won,
Batlam.
I think, every single event he attended this year except the Danish Nationals. So
yeah, he had like a 4 events win streak or something. 2 here in Copenhagen, 1 in another Danish city, Aalborg, and then at Malmö when we went over to visit you. If I remember correctly.
I think a lot. I mean, most of the players in our community are very good. I mean, they know the rules, they know their teams. Everyone is basically a competitive player, but I also think that's a problem. I think because we have distilled down a rather large kill team player base to just the competitive core. Because now some of the more casual players, it's hard for them to play against a competitive player because they will lose. They don't know about all the shenanigans. They are not aware of all the combinations and moves and setups that you can do, and it kind of diverges into 2 different communities, and I think that's a bit sad that we have lost a lot of players from Killteam 2nd edition, because I remember when it came out, the community was a lot bigger. I don't know what it was like in Copenhagen, but at least in Malmö it was much larger, with a lot of narrative players who want to play narrative games and campaigns and stuff, and then they wanted to try a bit of a tournament and they would get destroyed. And then they don't sign up for tournaments anymore.
Throughout the year, I mean, there have been a handful of players that I've only seen for 1 event throughout the years, but I don't know if they're just not aware of what is happening around the Kill Team games, which also sounds a bit unlikely to me, because we tend to make a lot of noise for ourselves to let people know that we're here and what we're doing. but yeah, I don't know if they were just trying it out, or they were scared off from the competitiveness. But it's not something that I've heard from people, that they weren't willing to play anymore because of the competitiveness. I mean, I could be wrong, but it's not something that I've heard directly from people. At least.
I think we're quite good at inviting players with less experience and show them a good time, even though they will lose the battle in the end.
Yeah.
But of course, it can be intimidating to go to a tournament for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and the rules themselves, it's a lot to keep track of. Obviously, all the competitive players that I know, they have spent some time not just learning about their own team, but other teams as well. And they are listening to podcasts and watching YouTube videos, and they attend tournaments. Of course, the skill level is going to improve over time. But if you're a casual player, then you're not doing that. You might not even know half the rules when you set up a game.
True.
Yeah, I think that's a mindset for you as a more experienced player. How you approach a game with a less experienced player. If you like, as you say, approach this as a sweaty player, just to do a. Well, if you sort of do a noob smash, or if you maybe turning into something like a learning game to make it more approachable for the newer person. But as the more experienced player, it will be hard to feel that you are developing if you play sort of easy games or learning games with people. But maybe that's a sort of a tax you have to pay to build or increase your community.
Yeah, for sure. But I was thinking more about tournament play. Tournament play, you don't give quarter normally, right? But for casual play, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think everyone in our communities tries to be as helpful and friendly as possible to help the noob learn. But I also would like to see what can be done with the co-op play. I haven't seen anyone play it yet, but I'm thinking that could be a good way maybe to bring the narrative players in and learn the ropes, because then you're playing alongside someone more experienced maybe.
Yeah, I think so. That's definitely for sure something to look into, and as they have done away with the Spec Ops rule set and done the, as you say, the joint ops or the co-op rules, solo rules, we'll see if they are more approachable. Okay, thank you. Let's see here. We went back. This is the nice gang that were playing.
What a bunch of nerds.
Yeah. We love them, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously.
Yeah. Did you shave? Well, let's wrap this up. It was nice. We have been talking quite a lot. I have 1 hour 40 recorded here. Let's see if I can cut this down a little. Thank you so much for joining the podcast and all the nosy questions about your area in Denmark and Malmö area. Copenhagen, at least. I know Denmark is a large country with different parts, and it's been quite nice. It's been quite nice to get a face to the names that I learned as we planned this episode. Is there any shout outs or mentions that you want to give before we wrap this up?
Sure. If anyone comes to Malmö, give us show yourself. Call us up and come to Grip and play with us. Just find us on Discord or find us on Facebook, for sure.
Yes, and please, Kurt, I will get some links from you about the Malmö area that I will post in the show notes. I will do that. Joakim, do you have any shout-outs or mentions that you want to give?
Yeah, no, just thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. And Anders, who you want to give a shout-out to?
First of all, obviously a shout out to my crew, the group activation guys, and the rest of the Copenhagen guys. We have open nights every Wednesday, as mentioned earlier. All of our communication usually goes through our Facebook group called Killteam Denmark. Come fight me in Göteborg. I'm going this January. Looking forward to meeting some new faces up there.
Yeah, end of January is
Yes.
In
25th.
Gothenburg. I'm maybe hoping to go. Maybe we'll see if I can get away. It would be nice. My parents live on the West Coast, so
yeah,
it would
2
be a
seats left,
combination.
as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, 2 seats left on the tournament.
Damn, I have to decide then. Thank you for
Yeah.
for giving me a heads up. All right, thank you, gentlemen. I'll
Thank you.
just post this one. Thank you. Thank you all for watching, and thank you all for listening. You can find episodes on Spotify, or you can add an RSS feed from your podcast app. You can watch this episode on YouTube, Killteam på svenska. I usually post one big post on killteam.se, where I try to assemble all the links and the show notes and everything. I have an Instagram, and you can contact me at magnus@killteam.se. Please like and subscribe if you give me if you like my episodes or our episodes. It will be easier for other Kill Team interested to get the suggestions on YouTube and Spotify, so please do. And I've seen that I've been rated on Spotify. I didn't even know that I could be rated, but apparently I have above 4 stars in score, so I'm very grateful for that. Please rate me if that can fool the algorithm. I'm all for it, so please do that. Thank you again, my gentlemen. It's been quite nice. We have had a long, nice talk. I will see if I just put this out as a raw dump on my different channels, or if I will dare to put the scissors in this in some way. Thank you so much, and good night.
It was a pleasure. Good night.
Take
Good
care.
night.
Bye.
And we're offline, or off stream at least. Thank
Nice.
you. It's been quite nice.
It has, definitely.
Yep.